Hi, my name's Synchronoise, and today I wanted to talk about kind of charisma, what makes a person charismatic and likable, because I can go into a lot of topics that allow for a lot of understanding between what happens in a conversation between two people, especially. You'll understand what I mean by that in a second. So we have two people, and they are just chatting. I don't like that arm. And let's say something comes up, a contention that they don't agree with, an argument, a debate. I prefer debate because debate sounds more like it's not heated. Argument kind of gives off that whole yelling at each other, screaming, and not really wanting to come to a compromise. I don't like the word argument. I prefer debate when it's like this setting because it's more of a both people are there respecting one another still, even though there is a disagreement. Something that I believe people have just completely forgot about respecting one another. So, and I should say it's usually, I shouldn't say everyone. A lot of people are respectful, but even they, and I'm not saying I'm perfect either. I still make blunders as well. It's how you grow. But in this moment where we're having two people are having a conversation and then they disagree on something. So, you probably run into this situation quite a lot online. I find online people seem to be able to they have this delusional belief that because it's someone online, they don't have to treat them like a human being. So, if this is person one, person two, and they are just chatting online, it's the same thing as talking in person. There's no difference. It's just there's no body language or tone. It's all just speech, and which is arguably the most important thing in conversation. But because how conversations work, about 5% of human, 5 to 10% ish of human interaction is actually done only through the actual words themselves. The other 90 to 95% around is actually body language and tone. Something that isn't present online. So, tone is about, I believe it's 60%, while the rest is, so 60, so 30% is, uh, or sorry, not tone. Body language is your majority. So your body language is 60% of human interaction, while your tone is the remaining 30-ish%. So how I'm talking right now, I want to sound more aggressive. I can intimidate you by talking a little bit more. I can increase the weight of my voice and be more forceful with it in order to make a sense of panic within you. I can do that. I can bully you by doing that. If you're weak willed, at least, if you don't understand that I'm trying to bully you, you will probably be more susceptible to it if I change my tone. You can't see my body language in this video, but as I'm talking right now, I'm actually moving my arms a lot. That is a very common sign of someone who is charismatic. Yes, I'm saying I have charisma because I can move my body. I really passionately move my body when I speak. And in doing so, it allows people to know that I'm passionate about this topic. And in doing so, they know that they have to respect me. But because that isn't present online, you can't understand that. So you have to take everything everyone says as literally as possible, unless they say otherwise, or there's some indication of a joke. Otherwise, everything that you say online is taken 100% seriously. if you don't indicate it. We're not like, people aren't mind readers. If you say you like fascism with no unironic thing, but it was a joke to you, you didn't come across that way to everyone else, and you need to understand that. So, yeah, remember this, and this can help you in real life, not just online. So, use your tone more, be more positive with your tone, be more vocally high. You want it to be, I'm forceful with my words when I speak, you see? I don't stutter, I think I take pauses in my speech, but that's because I'm thinking when I do that, and that actually allows you to understand psychologically that I am being more genuine, because I am thinking in between my speech and taking pauses. When I take a pause, it allows everyone in the room to think. Everyone who's watching this, for me, it allows everyone to just digest what I just said, properly understand it, and that way, then they can form a proper opinion, rather than doing something like what Ben Shapiro does, where he will just blast you with words. He doesn't come across as genuine. He just seems to be there to win an argument. That's it. He doesn't seem to want to interact with you as a person. He wants to win an argument. That's it. So, how does this correlate to how does this correlate to my other issues and stuff that I had pointed out before? Well, when two people have a conversation, if the disagreement isn't resolved in that conversation, what happens is, if one of these people is not very confident in themselves, and they are an insecure person, someone who constantly is filled with self-doubt and self-hatred, what happens is they'll become bored midway through the conversation. And if they're bored, something to understand about boredom is, boredom you might just think is when you think, but no, boredom is not when you think. You can think and not be bored. You can think and be happy. So that actually implies that boredom is an emotion. And that's important. Because if boredom is an emotion, what is it going to make you think when you are bored? Boredom is actually a very early onset form of, can you guess which emotion? I'll give you a moment while I figure this out. So boredom's at the bottom here, and it works its way up. Boredom. You're bored. You don't like the situation you're in, so you're bored. You want to do something else. So, where does this lead to? Self-hate. It leads to self-hate. It's a really nasty cycle when you think about it. Because now that, if you're bored, you're going to hate the situation you're in. You're going to think negatively about the situation you're in. You're not going to think of it positively. You're going to think negatively, because it's an emotion. It's not a state of being. So your self-hate, and then what comes after this? Can you guess? Self-loathing. Self-loathing is the undesirable feeling of the world being against you, and that everything's out of your control, and you're, of course, not personally responsible for any of that. Everyone else is at fault, not yourself. So, in that mindset, if you think everyone's going to be against you, you're never going to want to compromise in an argument. So if you're bored in an argument because you don't agree with this person and they don't agree with you, and you aren't just willing to be respectful to them and just respectfully disagree, and it can actually be a case where you're using that as a reason to leave the conversation. If you're thinking you're respectfully leaving, sometimes you are wrong. It's not so black and white that it's either a right or wrong opinion, or there's an in-between. That's a logical fallacy, which I'll get into later. You just have to take what everyone says at face value, unless there's something that shows otherwise. So in this state, you're going to begin to think and you're going to doubt that person. You're going to, well, they're stupid. They don't agree with me. They don't get me. But you're at the same time, have you actually tried explaining to them what your opinion is? Maybe because they didn't get it the first time. You explained it in a way that made sense to you. It didn't work with them and they didn't understand you, but that you have to keep going if you want to convince them. You can't just try one thing and then go, "Oh, well, that didn't work, so they must be stupid." Like, no, you got to keep giving them different approaches until one of them clicks with them. And then eventually you'll bombard them with so many points of view that they just can't even defend their view without being self exposing themselves for being self-loading and proving that they are a lot of the problem in their life. So you have to be able to bombard them with so many angles and approaches that maybe one of them will stick, and then if one of them sticks, maybe the other ones will then make sense as well. And the more that they make sense, then they'll go, "Oh yeah, maybe this person was right," rather than just trying one or two things and giving up. You got to keep going if you want to convince a person. You can't stop. Even if they are getting discomfortable and all that, they're getting discomfortable because you're right, probably. It's not because they don't like you or your personality, unless you're insulting them. That's a fair reason for them to not want to be there. But, and that's another thing I think is lost. But here, yeah. So you're gonna have negative thoughts of that person. We'll go with person two. You're gonna have negative thoughts of person two, and you're never gonna fix that until you become aware of that you are probably the reason that you are having so many issues in life, rather than moving on and growing up because you can't admit that you're wrong. And I'm not saying you, the viewer, but just you as a point of reference, so it puts you, the viewer, in that person's boots to understand them. That's why I'm saying words like you. That's the next thing. Language. Language is a very powerful tool. Very, very powerful. Because you can say things that imply other things and can mislead a person. So, you see this quite often on Twitter. I'll see if I can find something real quick. I probably can, because I like to battle these people because it's fun. Because they're very unaware of just what they're doing and how hateful they are. They're very unaware, and that's the thing. You have to make a person aware of their hatred because they're so lost in the lies they've been told. You have to tell them the truth. And that's it. And you have to understand the truth yourself. You can't delude another person into your beliefs if you are not confident in it being the truth as well. And that's partly why I had issues uploading, and I didn't want to upload every day or anything like that, because I want to be right. I don't want to be wrong. And my main intention with this isn't to be right, actually. It's more to get you, as a viewer, to think. And that's what you have to do. You have to make someone who is unaware of their actions aware of them by telling them. You can be blunt, you can be nice about it, you can do it in any way you want. You as a person should not be shunned for trying to help another person through their issues. So there's a quote that goes, ye who runs alone runs the farthest, or runs the fastest. However, ye who runs in together runs the farthest. And that's how we should be as a group of people. We should seek to help one another without getting offended on behalf of other people. Let the conversation play out, because if you're joining because you feel compelled to help someone, ask yourself why you feel that way. Why do you feel compelled to jump in front of and derail someone's argument because you feel like someone's going to get their feelings hurt? You need to you need to ask yourself, is it really going to lead that way, or is it just a spat they're having? Because it does actually make it a lot worse in the long run if you get in between two people who are disagreeing.